Hey guys, welcome to the next edition of Carrots and Cake Instagram Live. I think this is actually episode number 12. I can't believe I've been doing this for 12 weeks, but let's get right to it. I have a crazy afternoon, so here we go. So I have 4 questions and I'll reel them off real quick and then we'll get into them. The first one is, I got a bunch of questions about the Everlywell food testing, so I'll answer those and talk a little bit more about it. Number 2 is thoughts on traveling with Quinn now that he's older, so I can get into that. We've definitely done a ton of traveling with him over the years. Number 3 is my favorite books and resources for hormone health, and I actually have a bunch here that I'll talk about. And finally, how do you do the macro thing without tracking every little thing that you consume? And I actually get this question a lot because I think the numbers and the grams and all of that, it can just take over your life, and that's not what it's supposed to do. It really is supposed to give you more of a food freedom, and you're not supposed to obsess about the numbers. They're important, but they're not so important that you can't just live your life. So I'll talk about that too. So the first question is Everlywell. So I did a home food sensitivity test, and I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it was super convenient. I mean, you do everything at home. It's just a finger prick and you send off your samples. They provide all the Post-its. They provide, the little finger prick thing and the sample cards, even Band-Aids. So they send everything right to you, which is awesome. It's pretty affordable. I mean, I did get it free from the company, but I mean, compared to some of the other tests I've done, I mean, when I was really sick, I think I spent like over $700 on a test, and this one's way less. And if you're interested, over on Carrots and Cake, there's a link that will save you 10%. So that is awesome. But I really do, I think it's a good starting point for food sensitivities. And right now what's on the market, from what I've heard from registered dietitians and other, health professionals that I've talked to, that these tests are a good starting point, but they're not the end all be all. And I do think with what I got back from this test, it was pretty accurate. And it definitely made me look at my diet and some of the other things, some of the foods that might have been causing me issues or might cause me issues, and just pay attention to those, because really at the end of the day, it's all about just doing a body experiment and just seeing what works, like having the food and seeing what type of reaction you have. And if you really want to get serious, like what I did with the LEAP diet, that was like elimination diet. Told me the foods that I'd probably have issues with, and then I started from the most basic diet ever and then just added food systematically through it. So I mean, Everlywell, I think it's super affordable, super convenient, and a good starting point. And then you kind of have to do your own experimentation as far as what works and what doesn't work. But I really do think it's an awesome test for at least getting going with the whole food sensitivity stuff. Because I think even, if you think you have food sensitivities, you probably have a pretty good inkling of what those foods are. And I think this will just help, identify it, pinpoint it a little bit more. So that's Everlywell. Like I said, there's more information on Carrots and Cake. I did, a full-on review, and there's an awesome coupon code in there. So check that out. Question number 2 was traveling with Quinn. So yes, if you have followed Carrots and Cake, you know about all our adventures with Quinn. We've taken him cross country, I think 3 times now, to Seattle and Oregon, maybe even 4 times, 3 or 4 times. And yeah, we went to Arizona, Seattle, Oregon. We've been a lot of places on planes with him. And the first few times, not fun. And after a trip out to Seattle for his 2nd birthday, that was a disaster on the way there and a disaster on the way home. We took a break from traveling because it was just not fun. And so in recent times, this last trip out to Oregon, Quinn was awesome. He did great on the plane. He was awesome on the vacation. No major tantrums. Like, he was just so great. And he even said that he didn't want to go home. You know what I mean? He was having such a good time. And typically he'd go like 2-3 days and then just want to go home the whole time and then just stop eating. He'd go on hunger strikes and act terrible, and he just wasn't happy on these vacations. But I think for us that has helped for us is him being older. Obviously that helps, but then just letting him know that where we are is vacation and it's not our home forever. Because I remember one time he asked us, he's like, is this my new home? We were somewhere on vacation, and I think it finally just occurred to us that he thought we were moving, or this was his like new place, and he wasn't gonna see his bed again or Murphy or whatever. So letting him know that this wasn't a permanent change and it was just temporary, and it was gonna be our home for the next few days, and it's just a different type of living, and then that we would be back to our old home and his TV and his toys and like whatever else. So I think that helped a ton, just letting him know that it wasn't forever. And then also just making him travel. Like, not to sound like a terrible parent, but like forcing him to do things that, you know, put him out of his comfort zone and maybe he wasn't super comfortable doing. So yeah, and not, I know we did stay home for a while and didn't travel, but you know, not just staying at home and never traveling, just, you know, getting back out there and making it happen. But that has definitely gotten him used to it. So I think more travel is definitely in our future because Mal and I love it, so we want him to love it too. The next question is books and resources for hormone health. And yes, I'm a big reader. I love hormones, obviously, if you caught the Instagram live yesterday. Big fan. So I will tell you, I have props here because I grabbed all the books by my bed, or at least my favorites. There's a couple that, but these are my favorite favorites. So Woman Code is actually the book that kicked off everything. I was on vacation with a bunch of friends and one of my girlfriends was reading it. And of course I was so curious. So as soon as I left that vacation, ordered it on Amazon and just fell in love with the book and everything it had to say and hormone wonderfulness. So if you haven't heard of this book, this is a good starting place. It's got so much great information about your cycle, even goes into, you know, what you should be eating at certain times of the month. And this doctor, she has a whole community. It's called Flow Living. She has an app. I'm on her email list. She sends out tons of good content, but big fan of this one. The other book that I think is just great for any female, I guess male too, is Taking Charge of Your Fertility. This book has been out for a million years. It tells you all about your fertility, tells you how to get pregnant, tells you also how not to get pregnant, but explains your cycle. And I mean, it's kind of a weird thing that, you know, you get your period as a young girl and like, I didn't learn this stuff till I was 37. So I think it's just really great for understanding your body and anatomy and how things work and how your cycles should work and maybe like what might not be working. Tons and tons of information in here, but good kind of like textbooky situation, but not read like a textbook. Well, maybe a little bit, but just it's super helpful. And then the other two that are more recent in my repertoire are The Hormone Cure and The Hormone Reset Diet by Sarah Gottfried. She's a doctor as well. I've heard her on a bunch of podcasts. She's got a great email list and content and all that stuff, but these are awesome books too. So I will link to those in the blog post. But yeah, good stuff. One of them, I think it's The Hormone Cure, actually has like a really good quiz in it, or maybe it's Woman Code. One of them had a quiz to help you identify hormone issues that you might have. So I thought that was super helpful, and I've taken it a few times over the months trying to figure out what's wrong with me, and I've actually seen improvements on the quiz. So I mean, that's cool. And then finally, macros. How do you do the macro thing but not let it take over your life, and how do you do it without tracking every little thing? And I feel like that's something that when you've been tracking macros for a while, it just kind of naturally happens. It's not like you're falling off the wagon or anything, but you kind of just get used to eating that way and just having that mindset of, you know, what foods work for you and what, you know, meals are balanced and fill you up and satisfy you. So that's kind of where I am now. Like some days I'll track a full days, but most of the time I'm only half tracking things because I've been doing it a while. You know, I kind of have, you know, kind of got the hang of it at this point. But for me, I only track certain days of the week. So I basically track Sunday afternoon, well, most of Sunday through like Friday afternoon. And the weekend I just totally take off because I just want to have fun. I just want to enjoy myself. The weekend, you know, usually involves going out to dinner, some drinks, brunch, you know, hanging out with friends. Like if I'm at a party, I'm not going to be like typing in every little like chip and dip that I had, you know what I mean? So I just take off days, but you could do that during the week. I mean, you could track Monday, Wednesday, Friday and take off the rest of the days, but you could totally pick a couple days to, you know, track, and the other days just be mindful of your choices. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing when it comes to tracking. And then also when I'm feeling lazy but still think I should be somewhat accountable is I just track my protein, because that's always the macronutrient I just fall short on all the time. I'm pretty good with carbs, pretty good with fat. I always hit my fat because I mean I love nut butter, so always hit my fat goals. But protein's always the hard one, so I'll just track protein in my day. So make sure it's in my breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, and then just kind of wing it as far as building the rest of my day with carbs and fat. So that's another little tip. And then the last one is build, 1, 2, 3 days in MyFitnessPal ahead of time, have them all macro balanced, and then just repeat them. So you just don't have to track then. You can kind of eat the same thing, for 2 days in a row, or swap it, every other day, something like that. The day's already built, you just have to eat the food there, but you're not tracking every little thing. And then of course, if there's like a little change or something, you could make adjustments, but you don't have to track every little thing. It's mostly done for you. So those are my 3 suggestions, and yeah, whiz through the questions this week, and keep them coming. I do have an awesome list running, and I just keep moving it to the next week. So if you guys have questions, send them along. And yeah, happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon.